Today we are reviewing the Fujifilm XT-4, and this is not going to be a regular tech review. If you want to see the specs of the camera, please visit the website, or you can view other videos on YouTube that do exactly that. This is going to be my personal opinion after using it for 6 and 7 months, and I will talk about the things I like about this camera and things I don't like about this camera. I am going to talk about a few things that this camera does for my use cases and how I'm also using this camera in general, but other than that I won't be covering all the details, but mainly some things I like about this camera, some things I don't like about this camera. So to begin with, we have the XT-4 body with the 16-55 f2.8 lens. This is a really good lens. This camera is really good for video and for photos. So it's a hybrid camera, which basically means that it's not the best there is in the market for video or for photo. It's somewhere in the middle. But for this sensor size, it's one of the best cameras there is out there at the moment. So I'll start by talking about the things I like about this camera. So first of all, this is a Fujifilm camera, which means that the color science is really good, which means basically that the photos you can take with this camera and the videos you can make from this one, they have amazing colors, the skin tones are really nice, and you can immediately use the footage straight out of camera if you wanted to. Of course, this camera supports 10-bit colors and f-log recording, which is a washed out color profile which preserves more of the highlights so that you don't lose them when you are doing your shoot. But this is a more advanced feature, so that's mainly targeted for people who want to recover more of the highlights and also want to do some post-processing. If you don't care about doing post-processing, probably f-log is not for you. In terms of ergonomics, this camera has this retro looking style. It has all the dials on top and it looks like a film camera. Many times lots of friends or colleagues have asked me if this is actually a film camera, and I'm trying to explain to them that it's actually, a digital camera, but it just has those nice dials. On the right we can find the dial for shutter speed, and then on the left we can find the dial for ISO. And on the lens, on the Fuji lens, there is always the aperture ring, which you can twist to go to the setting that you want. And also this camera has a flippy screen, as you can see here. This is really useful when you are taking footage of yourself, or if you're doing talking heads like this one. By the way, I'm currently shooting with a Sony a6400 in order to show you the XT-4. This is not footage from the XT-4. And the battery life is really good. The battery life usually lasts me for the whole day, and I don't really need to change batteries. So that's a nice thing. It also accepts 2 SD cards. The grip is really nice, and the EVF, which is here, this small screen where you can look through the eye, is really high quality. And the good thing about this camera, because of its look, its retro style, and also the EVF, you have a nicer experience when taking photos, which actually might help you take more photos and become better at photography. I don't have any complaints, honestly, about this camera. This is the best camera I ever had. I started with a Canon, a very basic Canon, I don't even remember the model name. Then I moved on to the Sony a6400, which is a much better and cheaper camera, under £1,000 camera, which you can do your photos and video, but doesn't have stabilization. And then I decided to continue my journey in cinematography, in filmography with the XT-4, So this camera packs really nice features for videographers because you can shoot in 4K, it supports 4K 60, which you cannot easily find in cheap cameras. When I say cheap, of course, you know, I mean like relatively cheap, like not spending an entire salary on a camera. So it supports 4K 60, and it has super slow motion with 120 and 240 FPS. I wouldn't say it's the highest quality you'll find in the market, but for the price it's actually quite nice. But of course it's not 4K, it's 180p, the quality. Another thing I like about this camera is that it has a photo mode and video mode, and when you're changing between the two, it keeps the settings per mode. So, you know, maybe for example, you are in video mode and you're doing your video stuff, and then suddenly you just want to take a quick picture of an animal or something that you see, then you can quickly change, take the picture, switch back to movie mode and continue from where you left off. So this is quite nice. Another cool thing about this camera is that it has Ibis, which is in-body stabilization. This is important, you know, when you are taking pictures handheld, so you can avoid camera shake as much as possible, and also when you're panning, those small jitters that you have when you are panning for your shot, they will be removed due to the Ibis. So this is, in general, this is a nice thing for cameras to have. It's not the best in the business. I'm pretty sure there are better in-body stabilization technologies added in other brands. But to me, I don't mind so much about the stabilization because usually I'm fine with a bit of shakiness in my footage, and I also usually mount it in this small tripod to do my vlogs. Yeah, this is how it looks like more or less when I'm doing my vlogs. So the stabilization is good enough. It's not the best in the business, but it's good enough. But I will now talk about the only thing that it's kind of important to me, but the XT-4 is not doing very well, and that is the autofocus. Actually, for photo, I'm very happy with the autofocus of the XT-4, especially for people. It will lock on the person's eye. Sometimes it might lose focus, but that's okay. I actually usually configure it in burst mode and take a couple of pictures when doing portrait photography or just you know, taking photos of people in general. But the autofocus in video mode has various issues. For example, I've noticed sometimes that when I am just taking footage of a random place, it will usually try to lock focus in wherever, it'll be all over the place. And also sometimes it doesn't know, it hasn't decided what to do with the autofocus, so you'll see the picture pulsating a lot, and this is not nice when you're presenting this to, you know, to YouTube or to your friends or your family. It's not nice as an experience when viewing the video when you're seeing this pulsating. But other than that, I don't think I see any major flaw. I've seen that the new model of Fujifilm, the XH2S, I think it's the name. They have improved the autofocus, but it's still a new camera. It hasn't gotten to consumer hands yet, so we'll wait a bit and see how it goes. Probably in the next 6 months we'll learn more about the performance of the autofocus. But generally, I think my biggest problem is autofocus because I've been using Sony's in the past, and even the A6400 has a really good autofocus out of the box, and like sometimes you don't even have to think about it, it just does everything for you. But with the XT4 sometimes I have to switch to manual focus, and this is fine when you're doing videos for, I don't know, if you have a project or you want to do some client work or something more professional. But when you're just doing a video like this one, where I just want to set up the camera and shoot myself talking, I just want the autofocus to work and lock on my eye and not care at all about it, which is of course nice. And also, I mean, also for vlogging it's nice, so that you're talking to the camera, you want it to lock on your face, you don't want to lock on other things, and it's just a cool thing to have. Obviously, even if they do improve the autofocus on XH2S, it is a more expensive camera, so this is around 1,200 pounds body, and the X-H2S is at 2,500, so there's a big difference there, so you kind of expect to get more features and stuff. But overall, this is the best camera I ever had. The pictures are amazing. I use the Fujifilm film simulations all the time. I barely edit them on Lightroom afterwards, so this saves a lot of time for me. And the 10-bit video is exactly what I wanted to learn how to edit, and you have more flexibility in post to change your colors, and your footage doesn't break when you're just doing small tweaks here and there in post-processing, which is nice because I really wanted to be able to do that. Yeah, overall, this is I've been using for 6-7 months. I haven't had any big issue. It's really robust. It's also weather sealed. I recently bought another lens from the Fujifilm X system, which is this one. This is the 50-140 1.4. This is an amazing lens. It's my favorite focal length. The equivalent of this one is the 70-200mm f2.8. This is really good for sports, for wild animal photography, for bird photography. It's a telephoto lens, but it's not the best zoom there is. There are also other lenses that they can zoom more, do optical zoom way closer to the subject, so you can be like further away. But this is a really good lens for portraits, for photography and things like that. And I haven't been using it for long, less than a month. I used it a lot in Athens. I shoot a bit of ports with it, from over a cliff, some nice buildings and things like that. Overall, this is my kit at the moment, which I'm carrying most of the time with me. And I also have this nice microphone, which I use in my vlog. I just put it on top, and there you go. This is my vlogging setup, essentially. So as I said, it's a really good camera. It has lots of professional features, so you can really learn on it. If you do manual focusing, probably you, as a cinematographer, you can just do amazing stuff. The autofocus, again, is actually, it's not the verdict is that it's not the best in the business. That's all. It doesn't mean that it doesn't focus. It is just not the best in the business. I wish it was, because then I would have the perfect camera, but also then I would never have to switch, which is nice. But overall, really happy, and that's my only problem. So let me know what you think in the comments. Let me know if you want me to do another camera review. I also have the 6400. I have a good opinion about the 6400. I have the Sony ZV-1, which is a smaller one. If you would like to listen to my opinion about those, write down in the comments, press the like, subscribe, and see you in the next one.